So you could have been home in about 6 to 7 years, and that turned into a life sentence?
Yes, sir.
Wow. How's that make you feel?
Angry.
Wow. Angry at the system,
Angry.
I bet, right?
You damn right.
And they,
You damn right.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, what really makes me angry, Outlaw, is when I see these news pieces and these pieces on these child molesters and people who hurt women, multiple times convicted, are getting out in 8 to 9 years, and they're letting them people out. And I've never, ever hurt an innocent woman, child, or elderly, or innocent person in my life. Ever. And yet they can't give me no action because I don't debrief.
Well,
That's why they don't give me no action.
so, because you don't debrief. Well, that brings up a good subject. Now, if you were to debrief, what would they require from you to debrief? Because, I mean, there's a lot of different narratives that are put out there on the debriefing process, what happens. But I'm just curious, with a real active, someone who is not actually a snitch influencer or pretending to be an active like Doug Spee or several other influencers, has to say about the debriefing process.
So, okay, when these dudes debrief, I will never debrief and sell my soul for nothing, my friend. I won't do it. So when these dudes do it, we've read many debriefing reports. Many. They don't get to go home the next day. It don't work that way. So what they do is they write autobiography. And I've read many debriefing reports in my RICO case and over the years in other RICO cases, just familiarizing myself with how these dudes are and what kind of testimony that, to expect if they ever debrief against me. Well, the first step is they have to write an autobiography about their entire life from their childhood on up. And then the second thing they do is they snitch on every person they've done business with, crime with, or any type of conduct, criminal conduct with. They cannot leave nothing out of there. If their mother was selling weed when they were 10 years old to put food on the table, they have to tell against their mother. They will, and I know this for a fact because we're housed now, and I've been housed in these fucking foul units in the past. You hear them talking about it on the yard. You hear them talking about it around you. You know what they're going through because they're not ashamed of what they're doing. And,
you have 60 seconds remaining.
The gang unit will tell them, they'll put them back on the main line and in general population if they don't fucking tell everything. So they get scared and they make shit up. Let me call back, bud.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right now.
Okay, so you left off where you were telling us about the debriefing process. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Just the fact that prior to these dudes debriefing, what gang units do is they put them in the same area so they can collaborate each other's stories and shit and concoct stories and stuff that the gang units want them to come up with and to manipulate, coerce, and manufacture. And they'll regurgitate it back to the gang units on whoever the gang units are trying to target at that time.
Wow. Our viewers are confused. A lot of times they hear from snitch influencers that when these guys debrief that they don't tell on anything, that they just tell on themselves, or that they don't provide any valuable information, which is actually a complete lie because the debriefing process is designed for you not to be able to self-incriminate yourself. that it's part of the debriefing process is that you have to tell on someone else, so then that way they can use that leverage against you, so then that way you can never become what they would, I guess, consider a double agent or flip back and revert back to your old ways.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And they want to know what crimes you know. They want to know. They want you to say what they want you to say. So, it's all a coercion type of thing, right? Contrived coercion. And they'll put 5 or 6 of these dudes in the same area. And this way they can get their story straight about a certain person that IGI is currently targeting or pissed off about for their legal activities against CDCR or like myself, these dudes are always snitching against me because I do not conform to CDCR's agenda nor IGI's agenda. So therefore, all these documents pop up in other locations in prisons with my name in them, and yet I've never met the motherfucker snitching. I don't even know him.
Now this information, when these guys have to tell about crimes or criminal activity that they're aware on that's taking place in free society, now obviously that doesn't matter in the prison system. What happens to that information? Do they just throw it to the side and forget about it? Or is it passed on to law enforcement and placed in some sort of database?
Right. The latter. It's sent to a database, and they don't forget about it. Absolutely not. No way. They'll send it to a database, and then, like, say for instance, somebody debriefs out of high desert, but the guy that he's snitching on is in Calipatria or Centinela or wherever. They'll send the information down there. Them people will get it. The IGI units, the gang units down there, they'll get it and go around their units, go around their yards, trying to find people to corroborate it, correlate it, and be a part of it. And boom, next thing you know, you got a confidential document. You're sitting in a hole for 13 months for nothing.
Rats and whistleblowers, what are they, and what is the difference between the two? Can you explain in your opinion?
Okay, yeah. Rats is a snitch in prison or a snitch from the street, somebody who tells against another for whatever reason. You got 3 guys commit a crime. One of them flips on his 2 partners to get a better deal or to debrief in prison, and they go S&Y or PC. It's known to protective custody. So a snitch, a rat, it's the same thing. A whistleblower is the same. A whistleblower is usually called a whistleblower when an officer tells against his comrades or his buddies or he's blowing the whistle against this corrupt machine. So amongst the correctional officers, if one of them blows the whistle, he's considered a rat, right? He's considered a snitch. So, and that's how he's looked at in his circle of occupation or his circle of...
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So that's my definition.
So, basically a rat and a whistleblower, and we could even say a government spy. So then, there's really, other than really just the different labels, they're really one and the same, right? At the end of the day, they're all viewed the same by the individuals within that group, right?
Correct.
How are rats treated, or how are rats viewed by criminals or individuals in prison?
They're detested. they're loathed. I mean, nobody likes a snitch, right? Nobody. And when you're a kid, you're taught, man, don't be a tattletale. Man up. And
take responsibility.
Right. Accept your responsibility. Get some accountability and move the fuck on, man. Learn from whatever you did and move on. Don't throw your homeboy under the bus. Bite your beef. And but the thing, these snitches in prison and these rats will you know, they'll fucking go do the same thing that got them to snitching the first time. Once they get over there, like old Los Mantort does, you know, he got out from over GP side, went over there, and turned snitch over there again, and then turned snitch again, and it's like, goddamn.
He ran up a drug debt, right, for being a dope fiend again.
Yeah, they just got no honor, man. Though, like I said, if they know anything about crime or illicit activities, they snitch on it to law enforcement when they debrief. And if it's got their mother or their father or their sister, whoever involved, they have to give it up, or law enforcement will threaten them to go back. They'll put them back in the circulation of general population.
Is there like a safety net for them, or is there like an area? What benefits, perks, or what do they receive from them telling on people?
Motherfucking stale lunch.
So,
It's that.
do some of them get rewarded? Do they get money?
Absolutely. Okay, so in their ratism, in their kingdom of snitches, they got, like, you got the lower level fucking snitches that just tell on a few people and that's all they really know, or then you got the bigger snitches that do the books and they go to court, or they're expert witnesses, but they're not expert witnesses about specific crimes. You know, they just become Hollywoodized, we call it. They become like
Celebrity snitches.
You know, celebrity snitches. That's a perfect term for it.
Are they protected after they begin ratting? Like, is there an area where they are taken away from other individuals, where they are allegedly protected and kept safe?
Oh, I'm sure there are, absolutely.
I mean, would that would be like SNY, right, or protective custody?
Right. But then you got, like I said, you got different levels of that.
Yes.
The Michael Thompsons of the world and the fucking Boxer Enriquez of the world, them guys were where they were in WICSEC, which is a federal protection agency that's all they do is change these people's names, locations, or whatever. You know, they might even give them facial surgeries and shit. Might turn them to a tranny, a man to a woman, or whatever. I don't know. Or they do shit like that.
Or help them scam homeless people out of Social Security money, right? Like Michael Thompson?
Yeah, what a dirty son of a bitch, ain't he?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my God.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was probably told to do that, and his handlers were the ones who actually pocketed all the money.
Yep.
Now, okay, so then they're actually protected, right? There's safety nets for them. They got WICSEC, they got protective custody. There's certain buffers to protect them from being hurt, correct?
Correct.
Okay, tell me, how are whistleblowers looked at in prison? Obviously not by inmates, but by staff. Are they liked? Are they respected? Or are they hated?
They're hated just like we hate our snitches. They hate their snitches, but they are not respected by their peers. If they say they are, I think they're lying. You know, I know one of recent, you know, Kevin Steele. Back to the whistleblower thing is they're looked at by their peers as snitches. That's how they're looked at.
Okay. Now, is that across the board? So, like, let's say a correctional officer becomes a well-known whistleblower. Is he respected by law enforcement and military as well? Or do they look at him in the same as his fellow ex-coworkers?
They're looked at as the same as his fellow coworkers.
And
because law enforcement is law enforcement.
Okay, so then it would go if it was the other way around. If a law enforcement officer was a whistleblower, correctional officers would have disdain and hatred for the individual as well, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, are you aware of any, like, have you ever seen any interviews of government whistleblowers, or specifically law enforcement whistleblowers?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Old Hector Bravo, man. I hear his shit all the time.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about him in a minute. What I mean is, like, usually I've noticed when they run stories on whistleblowers on the news, I notice a lot of times they'll withhold the actual whistleblower's name, and they will actually hide their face because these whistleblowers are so scared of the retribution or retaliation from individuals that they often hide their face.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right.
Okay, so we left off, and I was mentioning how most the news stories or anything related to whistleblowers, especially with law enforcement, they usually withhold the individual's name or they blur their face out because these individuals usually fear retribution. Have you ever seen any videos like that or heard of anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Many times, my friend.
Okay, so that you're aware of in your environment, prison, when it comes to prison staff, correctional officers, or anyone that works in there, when they blow the whistle and they become whistleblowers, is there some sort of buffer zone or some sort of safety net to protect them from retribution? Or, like, do they have, like, a PC for whistleblowers? Or, like, or WITSEC?
You know what? I don't think so, man.
So then,
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they're protected like that. No.
so then they're basically just, they're not. There is no buffer zone for them. There's no protective custody.
Right.
There's no WITSEC. There's no one telling them what they're doing is a good thing and that they should be proud of themselves, like when it comes to a criminal. So the reason I'm saying that is that the very same individuals who created these buffer zones and these safety nets to protect criminals, so what they could tell on other individuals, they don't have that same system or any kind of policy in place to protect individuals that would be considered whistleblowers, correct?
No, absolutely not.
Or is it usually the opposite? Are they usually fired, have their hours cut, or forced out of their job?
They're fired. They get ostracized by their peers. They lose their job or go under investigation. So false investigation. They get smeared. They get smutted up by their peers. All that.
Okay, now you already mentioned him already, but you are familiar with who Kevin Steele and Rodrigo Valentino, I believe, right? Are?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Were they former correction officers at that very same prison where you're at right now?
Yep.
Were these two individuals at some point in their career labeled whistleblowers?
Yep, they sure were.
Now, can you tell me what happened to both these individuals?
Okay, yeah. First of all, Valentino Rodriguez had came across some information of a murder being set up with officers involved in what was going on. Well, he knew it. He found some information that corroborated an allegation, and he was being pressured by his colleagues not to report it or to report it differently. And he was under a lot of pressure because he was a newer ISU agent, which is institutional service unit. It's investigative service unit in the prison. And so he had recently became one of them, and he was being pressured to alter the material facts, the material evidence of an issue of a crime. Well, he blew the whistle, told the warden. The warden buried it. A few other people buried it. And then Kevin Steele, a partner of his, knew about it himself, confirmed it himself. And the only way I got hooked to this, the only reason I knew about this was my neighbor was a guy that was charged for that alleged murder. And he was telling me and an old friend of mine named Oscar Torres what actually had happened and how the officer set it up and who was all in players on the chessboard. Well, he said that Kevin Steele knew about it, but my neighbor didn't want to say nothing because he was afraid he was next, that they would set him up and smoke him, which he actually heard a few staff offering me and most Torres some rewards to do that. And I don't do no cops work. I ain't doing a cop's dirty work, ever. Well, I go to court one day during COVID, and who's doing my court on Zoom? Kevin Steele. Kevin Steele tells me, man, Scoops, I don't know what to do. I'm having a hard time. I mean, he just was like looking for some type of, I don't know, he was looking for some type of advice or something, and I don't know why he's asking me this, but he knows who my neighbor is, and he knows that my neighbor, is part of this, and he's already gotten my neighbor to tell him the truth. And so at this time during the situation, which was like a 6-month period, 8-month period, I have a court hearing.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So he's there and he's telling me all this, and he wants to help me and Ronnie on a RICO case because he said that he knows for 100% fact that we are being manipulated and done dirty within our inner circles, and that they have several undercover snitches that are working hand in hand with gang unit investigators. And these guys are spreading, disseminating slander and all this other crap. And they're going to tap out. It's just a matter of time. And that Kevin Steele wanted to help us on our RICO case because at the time they were going to put us to death. We were fighting the death penalty, RICO death. So I said, look, man, dude, I respect what you're doing. I respect that you want to get the record straight. And hey, I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm like, you know what? I'm fighting a fucking death penalty, man. If this can help us, me and my co-defendants, absolutely, because I know for a fact CDCR falsifies documents. I know for a fact they do. Well, I gave him my attorney's phone number, and that day he called my lawyers when he left work, and he told my lawyers everything. So, and that right there cinched it. That helped him make his decision. And a month or two after that is when they pulled me out of my cell because I think they knew that he had spoken to my attorneys. So they pulled me out of my cell. All of a sudden they find a weapon in my cell, right? All of a sudden now I'm supposed to be plotting to take down an officer. So you see how this works, and that, my friend, is what happened with Kevin Steele and Valentino Rodriguez. But Kevin Steele ended up leaving the prison before they could fire him. He went to another state because he knew, he told my attorneys and he told me that he knew they would fucking try to take him out.
And what happened to Kevin Steele?
According to the news, they say he committed suicide, but some of us feel different. Some of us feel that he was iced and it was manipulated to look like a suicide. I don't know.
Now,
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Now, would some of those people that feel that same way about what happened to Kevin Steele would be his wife and family?
Absolutely.
Okay. So not only do you guys feel that it was not a suicide, but his family feels there's more to it than an apparent suicide, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what happened to Valentino?
Now, according to the KQED channel with Suki Lewis and the report she did and everything I learned and everything I came across after was that he allegedly OD'd on fentanyl.
Okay.
Allegedly. Now, you know, I don't know that to be true. I don't know. I just know that that's what was reported. And, of course, we have our feelings about that, but I don't think as strongly as we do Kevin Steele because, you know, I know Kevin Steele at the time, and, you know, he was sound of mind. He was, he had a real big issue, my friend, with falsifying documents, man. He was very, very against it, and he was against the fact that CDCR headquarters and some of the managements are trying to infiltrate the inner circles with slander, false documents in our files, and all sorts of shit. And I felt that if I could help me and my co-defendants by sending him all I did was give him a number to tell my attorneys everything he just told me. And that's what he did. That's it.
Okay.
You know, and if I can remove CDCR documents out of the equation of the death penalty decision and put it out there that, you know, the facts out there that these people do falsify shit, so you can't factor this element into your death penalty decision because it's proven to be bullshit. And here's the bigger thing. The prosecution of the United States in the Eastern District of Sacramento knows Kevin Steele personally because they used him.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They used Kevin Steele. He broke the Ronnie Price murder wide open, and Arturo Pacheco took a 12-year deal and went to prison for falsifying documents on that homicide. That he did. This cop killed an inmate while he was cuffed behind his back, slammed him face first in the ground, killed him, falsified the documents over it. Well, he was charged for falsifying the documents over it because the Kevin Steele made him like, no, man, we're not doing that. We're not falsifying documents on these dudes just because they're prisoners. Well, Kevin Steele broke the case. And the prosecutor, the DA, federal DA, knows this dude's word is good. So, you know, and what they did to Ronnie Price, when they dipped him face first into the ground while he was cuffed, it killed him. It killed him, and they falsified the document. But Pacheco was never charged for the murder. He was only charged for falsifying the document of the murder.
Never charged for the murder.
Well, no, and here's a bigger thing, a crazier thing. All these years they told Mr. Ronnie Price's family that it was an inmate who killed Ronnie Price. Well, lo and behold, his family found out at court it was a cop that killed Ronnie Price. Imagine that.
Imagine that. I mean, being told one story and then coming to court and then realizing it's something else. Man, I can only imagine the heartbreak of the family. Let's just play devil advocate for a moment and let's just agree with the mainstream media and CDCR's version.
60 seconds remaining. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
That Valentino and Steele both committed suicide. Now, do you agree with me and believe that the reason why these individuals committed suicide or overdose was because of a direct result of the pressure that they were receiving for being labeled whistleblowers?
Absolutely.
Are you aware of that the period between, I believe it was 2001 to 2009, CDCR had the highest rate of correctional officer suicides across the United States?
Right. I remember. Yep.
Okay. Now, do you think a lot of those suicides are probably related to individuals who are labeled whistleblowers?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And do you think that a lot of these suicides or incidents could have been prevented, like the overdose of Valentino, if there were safety zones or buffers or some sort of network where these individuals can go seek protection and help and support?
Right. Yep, absolutely.
So what you're saying is if there were some sort of WITSEC or some sort of protective custody for whistleblowers, specifically prison guards, they would be more forthcoming and they would most likely be more support systems. So that way we wouldn't see these issues where they become alcoholics, drug addicts, or commit suicide, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, there was a reason why I brought this up, the entire topic, and you kind of mentioned it earlier. And I mean, I don't want to give this guy any credit. I don't want to mention his name because, to be totally honest, I don't want to cause a relapse in this fucking JCAT PTSD fucking alleged retired correction whistleblower. Because we'll just call him the social media minister of propaganda, aka whistleblower on YouTube. Now, I think we all know who I'm referring to, correct?
Correct.
If our viewers have an idea of who I'm referring to, feel free to leave a comment or just leave an emoji of a bull or a peanut, because that's what he has in his brains. Now, I asked you earlier of how whistleblowers treated, and you basically explained that they're ostracized, that anyone in law enforcement, military, or any kind of law enforcement, even fire department individuals, would ostracize an individual who's labeled a whistleblower, correct?
Right.
Okay. I noticed this individual, the YouTube social media prime minister of propaganda, happens to appear on a lot of law enforcement and retired law enforcement YouTube platforms. Or have you seen this individual on any of these platforms?
I heard him, but I haven't seen him, no.
Okay.
I can only listen.
This individual, who I don't want to mention his name, one of his names is the opposite of a coward.
Okay.
So, what's the opposite of a coward? And then you might get an idea of who I'm talking about. This individual recently appeared on a platform where he was with, I believe, 3 retired law enforcement and correctional officers and the celebrity snitch, Mundo Mendoza, talking about corrections and law enforcement and prison gangs.
Okay.
Do you think that's out of the ordinary that an individual who claims to be a whistleblower, who is not afraid to show his face and reveal his name, is appearing with other law enforcement, or that law enforcement agencies are allowing high-level informants to appear on channels or platforms with him?
Do I agree with that?
No,
Is that what you're asking me?
No. Do you think that it's odd that an individual who's labeled himself as a whistleblower and claim is parading on social media with law enforcement and also appearing and having appear on his show individuals who can only appear, or he appear with them, if it not been okayed through law enforcement?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Now, this individual also did an interview with an alleged leader of an SNY gang. And I don't know if you've seen that interview. In its interview, the first thing they mentioned and thank was CDCR for making this interview possible. That the Prime Minister of CDCR propaganda on YouTube worked hand in hand with the administration to get this interview. Now, do you think it's odd that a guy, again, who self-proclaims to be a whistleblower is working with the same group that he claims to be blowing the whistle on to conduct an interview on YouTube?
Absolutely, it's strange.
Do you think it's out of the ordinary for CDCR or for law enforcement staff to be welcoming him and basically validating him on social media?
I do, but I gotta tell you. So, a lot...
This call and/or telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Okay, a lot of them can't stand this individual, the Prime Minister, on social media, right? A lot of them detest what he's doing. But then you have a select few that appreciate it because it's something that they want to do, but they can't because of those protections, like you were saying earlier, don't exist for them. And, they don't. If they speak out, they'll lose their job. So what they'll do is they'll drop that guy a phone call or whatever if they do, and then it becomes... and I want to say, that person we're talking about goes after Sacramento headquarters quite often. And that's what we do. That's what I do. And it's only because they are as corrupt as they come. Bad. And I'm not trying to sensationalize or glorify none of it. But, I believe, that if there was more protections for these people and they wouldn't be looked at like they are, we'd have a lot more truth coming out of what's really going on within...
Extra digits violation.
Oh, they're going to hang up because...
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
You there? You just now witnessed, my friend, and your viewers, a maneuver they have on my tablet when they hear me doing these videos.
To shut you up.
And they don't want me to talk. Right.
I was thinking the same
extra
thing.
Digits violation, and they shut it off.
I was thinking the same thing too. I'm funny because I guarantee you, we went on stories by Lioness and White prisoners. I bet you they don't have that same problem.
Exactly. Hey, every time, bro, that's what they do, and there's always extra digit violations. I ain't pushing no button. My hand ain't even sitting on the tablet at all. It's sitting on the desk. So
Okay.
they're listening, and they're mad because I'm giving up the truth about their corruption. Let's put that on record.
Yep, I agree. We got that on record. We got it on recording, and it's going to be out there for the world to hear. So we were talking about whistleblowers, a specific YouTube whistleblower who claims to be a champion for truth and transparency. Now, and then we were talking about how it's odd how for an individual who claims to be a whistleblower who should be ostracized and hated by other individuals is actually being welcomed on their platform, and law enforcement and CDCR is actually working hand in hand directly with him to conduct interviews or to appear on other law enforcement related platforms. And you thought that was odd too, right?
Yeah, that's odd.
Now, do you think Kevin Steele and Valentino would have received that same treatment?
Absolutely not. Because when they blew the whistle, they went straight to the FBI.
This call and/or telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Well, Kevin Steele did. He went to the FBI and federal attorneys, our attorneys and shit on a RICO case. And, there's a difference, man. There's a huge difference.
Okay, yeah. So then, the reason why I wanted to talk about that topic is because this individual who claims to be the champion for truth and transparency seems to be like defying all the rules, standard rules and protocols for an individual who claims to be a whistleblower. Because for one, I agree. I don't think that CDCR or law enforcement or high-level informants who can only be gotten to by speaking to law enforcement would be helping an individual who claims to be a current whistleblower to do anything on any social media platforms. And I just find it very interesting that this individual is just welcomed in all these platforms, and they don't ostracize him, they don't call him a rat, they don't fucking talk down on him or belittle him. like they do any normal whistleblower.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so now let's be clear with our viewers, because I think you agree with me. I am in no way, shape, or form disagreeing with any of the alleged claims this so-called whistleblower has made. I actually agree 113 and 114% with just about 90% of what he says when he's blowing the whistle. I don't disagree with it. I just personally feel it's a smokescreen for him to spread disinformation that CDCR does want out on social media. Do you agree with me?
Right. Partially, yes.
Yeah.
I partially agree with that. On as far as I believe when he left the department and blew the whistle, he was dead serious about what was going on, and he wants to take down the corrupt Sacramento headquarters and their dirtiness on the inside. And then as time goes along, I don't know if it's starting to evolve and or what, but now I do believe that at some point, you know, certain individuals that might be in the department have gotten at him and said, "Come on, man, like help us out, man, help us," you know, or whatever. I don't know. I'm just you know, surmising, but it's kind of changed. You know, at first I felt he was dead serious. Man, we need to get our attorneys to that guy and put him on the stand. And he's already agreed to helping us, you know, on the RICO case, on how they falsify documents on the inside against each other. And that's against each other with all the electronics and technology at their disposal. So what do you think they're going to do to a man like me, who's a prisoner in a box that don't have all that? So, you know, that's just what I believe, you know.
Okay. So, I think we kind of touched on that topic more than we need to. I just wanted to clear up, and I wanted to get your point of view, because I felt you thought the same way I do, that it's extremely strange that an individual who claims to be a whistleblower is just being welcomed by other law enforcement, and that no official law enforcement or CDCR employee has come out publicly to discredit him or to discredit his claims, which is typical of when it comes to a whistleblower. There's usually one whistleblower and 10 individuals out publicly discrediting him. And I find it really odd that no one has publicly come out to discredit him. If, as a matter of fact, if you go on most of these platforms, a lot of them validate him and encourage people to sub to his channel.
Right. No, and I know you're right, because on Cam and Steel, they try to say he lost his fucking mind, that he went crazy. And that's not true.
Yeah, and they made similar claims about Valentino as well.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, we touched on the subject more than enough, and so what we're gonna do is give our viewers exactly what they probably were here to in the begin with to hear. Us talk about a specific snitch influencer or prison influencer who's been making his rounds on a lot of prison influencer channels. And specifically comments that he's made about Pelican Bay Shoe. Now, the individual that I've kept secret till now is an individual who goes by the handle on social media by Brian Lonely James. Have you ever heard that name before? Never? So you've never seen any of his interviews that he's done on American House Cholo or Snitch Stocks or Hood Stocks? And I believe he was on a couple other platforms. Indicted, I think he was on
I've
too.
never heard of him.
Okay. I find that interesting because this individual proclaims on every interview that he's been on that he was in Pelican Bay Shoe, and that he was actually released because of the Ashker settlement, basically insinuating that he's a validated prison boogeyman, or I believe an associate is what he's trying to insinuate to viewers. And you've never heard of this name before?
No, I've never heard of him, man, at all. I don't know who that guy is whatsoever.
Okay. I didn't expect you to. If you ever get a chance, look him up. Watch some of his videos. he's well-spoken, very articulate, intelligent. I mean, I like a lot of things he says. The only thing I disagree with him is I notice that he's so detailed and goes into so length talking about violence, stabbings, and kind of criminal activity while he's in prison. But yet, every time he's asked a question about the hunger strikes or the end to hostilities, he seems to give vague explanations or with very little actual details.
And/or telephone number will be monitored.
Or he avoids the subject altogether. Now, considering he claims to be in Pelican Bay Shoe, you would think he would have some direct knowledge.
Correct. You're 100% right, man. I've never heard of the guy, and I want to tell you and your viewers, if people get on here on this internet, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and they go into boogeyman stories with all the blood and gore, they're SOI, man. That's straight bullshit. No active man is going to get on here and glorify any blood and gore in prison. That's not how we actives get down. That shit stays in prison.
That's the difference between a convict and an inmate, correct?
Exactly.
The reason why I bring up this individual, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but this individual, anytime he talks about Pelican Bay or he's asked about when he goes to Pelican Bay, he refers to Pelican Bay as the White House. Basically, he insinuates to the viewers that he has reached the pinnacle of what it means to be a prison gangster, and that he has reached the White House. It's like him becoming a president.
Hang on. They're at my door.
Okay.
Hang on. I got a bunch of cops at my door sweating because I'm on here. Fuck you. Get off my door, pig. Yeah. That's right. Fuck you in your neck. All right, my bad. Excuse me. They know I'm on here. I don't care. Fuck them.
They're pissed.
They're retaliating.
They're probably
Put that in
listening.
the video too.
They're probably in another room listening.
Yeah, it's all good.
But
yeah, you're right. You're 100% right on everything you just said, my friend.
Yeah, so this individual tells viewers that to be in Pelican Bay Shoe is equivalent to being in the White House or working in the White House or just being an individual who goes to the White House. Do you consider being in Pelican Bay Shoe as some sort of achievement that, or that would you put a label on Pelican Bay Shoe as considering it the White House?
Absolutely not. Being in Pelican Bay Shoe was it's an experience, and it's not something that we glorify or nothing, man. Those of us who were validated and were there under the die, debrief, or parole laws and rules, of course we'll never debrief, and we ain't died yet, and, we got out on the Asker settlement, but those of us who've been there for any length of time thinking that this was the end of our life, we're never going to glorify that shit, we're never going to pump that up for society or for views or for subscribers or for money. We're just going to tell you the truth about our experiences while we were there. We're not going to glorify the battles or the blood and gore of whatever happened. That's just not us, man. We'll tell you the facts. And like you said, and I said in our first video, sometimes the truth is boring.
Yep, you said it, my friend. The truth is boring. And so then, how do you feel about knowing that there's an individual who claims to be a former validated prison boogeyman who's going around social media telling viewers that being in Pelican Bay is like the White House?
Myself, I feel it's like a disgrace. It's a disgrace to those of us that were actually there, and those of us that actually went through all the trials and tribulations to get out of that place. That place broke a man's spirit. That if you wasn't strong-souled and spirited, man, it broke many, many men that I know of. And, it's not the White House. It was never known as the White House. And if you had inspirations to go up there, then you have some serious psychological problems you need to work on.
You have
That-
60 seconds remaining.
That's what I thought, my friend.
All right.
Now, my friend, a quick question before you cut off.
Shoot it.
Do they offer dog training classes for general population inmates, or is that something that's only available on SNY?
They did on 1 yard in Corcoran, and then they took it and gave it only to SNYs.
And you know what year that was?
2013, 14, and 15, and then they took it and put it on SNYs. Okay, bro, it's gonna hang up.
Okay,
I send my best.